Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Treasure's Craft and my name is Treasure Peter. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. If today is your first time of coming across my channel, you're highly welcome. Today I'm going to be making this beautiful corporate dress with asymmetric built-up neckline, and it has a funnel slitted long sleeves. I'll be using a free hand to just cut and sew it at once. I'll try to make it in a very easy way so beginners can also understand. So just stick around and watch to the end if it's something you're interested in. Thank you. Welcome back once again, guys. So I'll be cutting this directly on my fabric. So I went ahead to check if my crepe material is stretchy. It's actually not stretchy, it's just a soft kind of crepe material. So I went ahead to place my material. I want to remove the skirt part of the gown first before we go ahead to remove the upper part. So I determined the length of my skirt, the length of my gown rather, and it was 46 that I wanted to use for the person. So I came down by my half length. The half length I'm using is actually 17 inches, but I decided to take from 16.5 because I'm going to join the upper part. And then for the length of the gown, I added additional 2 inches at the down part, so I'll be able to fold it to give me my actual measurement. So after that, I came down with 25 inches down. This is because the person's shoulder to hip line is actually 25, around 25, 26. So most times I just love using 25 or 26 inches, and it actually works perfectly, especially for someone that is not too tall. So after that, I went ahead to take my hip measurement divided by 4, which was 40 inches, and I marked and I added additional 1.5 inches allowance for my stitching. I also took my waist measurement divided by 4 and I marked what I had. I also added my allowance for stitching, and after that I connected my hip to my waist like this. So this is like the same process of actually sewing your normal skirt. So I came down by 10 inches to determine my knee point. So you can just go ahead to measure your knee line first, but I just came down by 10 inches from my hip line. I marked across, and then at that point I took the same measurement that I took at my hip line, but I subtracted 1.5 inch so it will not be too big, because I don't want to make it straight. I want it to have a shape just like the one you see on the picture. So I went ahead to connect the line, and then from the knee line downwards I just took a semi-slant line down to the edge of my skirt. So after that, I'll go ahead to just cut the skirt. So I also went ahead to notch the center part of my front, and I went ahead to place the front on another fabric to cut out my back. I added my allowance at the zipper part of 1.5 inch. I just marked 1.5 inch across from the up part to the down part, and then I went ahead to cut it out like so. After cutting it, this was what I had. I had to reduce the bulginess of the zipper area. So in order to do that, I came in by 1/2 inch at the top part, and then from my hip line I went up by 2 inches, and then I connected it in a slant form to meet that part. Then I went ahead to just cut it out. So this is a way of making our zipper part not to be bulgy. So after that, I went ahead to extend my 1.5 allowance for zip, so that it will align, so I'll know that that is where I'll be taking my zip. So after that, our down part is ready. It's time to cut the upper part. So for the upper part, because of the built up neck, I came down by 2 inches. I think 2 inches is actually perfect for this. I wanted to come down by 1.5, but I decided to use 2 inches because I am cutting it directly on my fabric. I am not cutting it on a pattern paper. So that line is now my actual shoulder line, and then from there I measured my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Note I folded my fabric into 2 at once because I'm taking everything at once on the material. I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant, and then from that shoulder slant I went ahead to determine my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5, and I went ahead to mark what I had. Then I went ahead to draw my chest line, and I also went ahead to take my shoulder to my bust point. I took my shoulder to my under bust point, and also my shoulder to the half length. I didn't take the exact measurement. I added half inch for all, but for my half length I added extra 1 inch for joining because I'm taking the measurement directly on my fabric. And then I went ahead to draw the lines across like so. So I'm done taking my horizontal line, shoulder to chest line, bust point, under bust, and half length. So I'm going to go ahead to take my vertical lines now. So I'm going to be taking my shoulder measurement divided by 2 on my chest line, and then I'll connect my shoulder like so. And then after that I'll taking my bust nipple to nipple or bust span. Before then I went ahead to determine the midpoint of my armhole, and then I came in by ½ inch, and then I also went ahead to take my bust circumference divided by 4. I just marked what I had. Then the next thing I went ahead to do was to take my nipple to nipple measurement, and the nipple to nipple measurement is actually 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, but I added extra ½ inch, making it 4 inches. I marked it on my half length on the under bust and also on the bust point. And then after that I went ahead to connect the line in a straight line form. And then the next thing I went ahead to do was to connect from that midpoint to my bust point to form my princess dart. So I used my French curve to just connect in this form. I had to blend it so it will not look too pointy at the chest line area. At the half length part I came out by 1 inch. I also extended the 1 inch to my under bust, and then I connected it in a curved form to meet my bust point in order to take out my dart. So I just wanted it to be like a semi bustier. After that I took out my armhole. I had to curve my armhole, and then I came down by 1 inch along the armhole, and then I connected it back to my bust point in a curved manner. And then after that I extended the line by 1.5 inch. So this is just to be on the safer side. If it's longer when you're joining it, you have to cut it off. Then I connected it back to my bust point. So after that I'm going to be taking my circumference measurement. I took my bust measurement again. I added extra 1 inch at that part so that when I'm joining it, since I'm doing directly on my fabric, there will be no shortage. So I also took my waist measurement divided by 4. I added my 1 inch dart allowance that I took out, and then I added extra 2.5 inch for joining. So the 2.5 inch would serve as my joining allowance as well as the seam allowance. So I just went ahead to cut it out like so. So at this point I'll just cut it straight up. There is no need for us to enter the shoulder line because of the way our neck is. So I went ahead to measure my neck width of 3 inches at the 2 inches above the shoulder line point, and then I'm going to connect it to meet with my shoulder slant in a curved form because of the way our built up neckline is. And then I went ahead to cut it out. So I went ahead to notch the center part of the neck so I'll be able to determine where the center part is because of the way our neck is. So guys, this is our neck. The straight part is at the right hand side while the asymmetric part is at the left hand side. So we'll be connecting our neck like so. The first thing I did was to come down by 2 inches, which is my actual shoulder line, and then I came down from that my shoulder line by about 6.5 inches. You can as well take 7 inches. I took 7 inches before, but I later reduced it to 6.5. And then at the top part I came in by half an inch, and then I connected a straight line from that top part to meet my 6.5 inch. And then at the other side I also came in by half an inch at the top part for my neck, for the front part, and then I connected it with my free hand in an asymmetric form to meet my 6.5. So you can as well use your French curve to make it well defined. After that I went ahead to just cut it out. After cutting it out, this is our front side. This is how it looks like, and this is how the princess dart area actually looks like. So I'll go ahead to cut the back part. So for the back part, I marked out my zipper allowance. I draw it across from the top part to the down part like so. After that I also came down by 2 inches. This is also because our back neck is also very high. Then from my zipper allowance part, I took my shoulder measurement divided by 2. I came down by half an inch for the shoulder slant, and then I took my chest line, went ahead to draw out the chest line across like so. And then from my shoulder I also took my half length. So I went ahead to mark my shoulder, and I marked my bust circumference. I went ahead to connect to form my armhole, and then after that I marked the center part of my armhole from the shoulder slant. And then I also went ahead to take my nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch, and then at my chest line I also marked the nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch, and I just came down by 1 inch from the chest line, and then I connected it back to the midpoint at the armhole. And then also at the side I took out 1 inch for my dart and connected it back to my 1 inch below my chest line. I hope you understand what I'm doing. And then after that I took my waist circumference divided by 4. I added 1 inch to replace the dart. I added additional 2.5 inch for my stitching allowance as well as the joining allowance. From the midpoint of my armhole I also came down by 1 inch, by half inch actually, and I connected it back to the chest line, and I extended the line by 1 inch and then connected it back to my bust line. And then after that I added additional 2.5 inch for my joining allowance. So at this point, due to the power outage, I didn't know that when the power came back I did not record the part where I was cutting it, because I noticed the video was not recording. That's why I'm trying to explain what I did there. So what I did was exactly the same thing I did. I added extra 2.5 inch for my stitching allowance and joining allowance, and then at the down part of my zipper area I came in by half an inch and connected it back to the chest line in a slant form. This is also to avoid the zipper bulge. And then I took my 3 inches for my neck width and then connected it back in a curved form to my shoulder slant. So this is just like exactly the same thing I did to the front. The only difference is that for the back I did not curve the neck, I just left it at the straight line like so. So it's time to cut our sleeves. I'll just go ahead to measure the sleeves that I'm going to take. So it's a very long sleeves. If you check out this gown, you notice that it is a very long sleeve. So I folded my fabric into 2, and I want to take the length of my sleeves to be about 27 inches. This is because of how long the sleeves is. I added additional 1 inch and I made it 28 inches. I went ahead to just draw out the straight line across like so. Then I cut it out. So I used the width of my sleeves to be around 20 inches. That's 10 inches on fold. Then I went ahead to take from my shoulder to my short sleeves. I also marked from my shoulder to my cap height. I used 4.5 for my cap height. I marked from my shoulder to my elbow where my elbow stopped. I then marked my shoulder to 3 inches above my long sleeves at the wrist level. So for my long sleeves was actually 22 inches, but I came up by 3 inches, which is 19 inches before marking. If you take a look at this sleeves, you notice the part where it started being free, so it is the part before your actual long sleeves. That's why I came up by 3 inches. So note, the actual long sleeve is actually different from the long sleeves of this particular gown, because the long sleeves of this gown is very longer and it covers the hand. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take the short sleeves, the round short sleeves, divided by 2 at that point, and I added 1.5 inches, and then also at my elbow I also marked my round elbow divided by 2, and I added 1.5. I connected it, and also at that my wrist point I also marked what I had and also connected it. From there I just connected it to meet the down part in a slant form straight down. So this is just what I did, and we are going to cut it out at that point. At the upper point, I went ahead to take out my round armhole. I just went up straight to meet my cap height, and then I curved my armhole in this manner like so. After that, I went ahead to just cut out my sleeves. After cutting it out, I went ahead to notch the center part, and I also went ahead to cut out at the wrist part because I'm going to be joining at this point. After cutting it, it was looking like the edge was too sharp, so I just decided to reduce it a bit. So I went ahead to remove the second part of my sleeves, and I also went ahead to cut out the down part again, but for the down part I made it 4 altogether, 2 for one side and 2 for the other side. This is because we are going to be using the material to also serve as our facing for this down part. I also went ahead to cut out the facing for the back side as well as the front side. The front side, because of how the neck is, I had to open it up and pin it down before cutting out the facing. So I went ahead to use my headstead to interface on my facings as well as the facing of the down part of my sleeves. So it's time to sew. The first thing I'll do is to join the princess dart area of the front and the back side. So the joining is going to be with 1/2 inch. Always start your joining from the down part to the up part like so. So I'll do the same thing to the back side. I'll also attach it with 1/2 inch. I'll join it and then I'll show you guys what I have. So this was what I had after I was done joining it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to use my scissors to notch around the joining part in a slant form like so. This is actually not compulsory. I just love doing this because I want this area to be relaxed when I iron it, because I'm going to open up my seams and iron it with my post arm. I actually recommend that if your material is enough, you have to cut your front part to double it as you're facing. Like just cut the full part for your front as well as your back side. If you do that, it will help you to cover the joinings when you turn it, and it will make your work very neat. But if you do not have enough material, just like me, you can as well weave it when you are done sewing, so it will look neat. So this was what I had after I was done ironing it well. So I'll go ahead to turn the neck part first. So you can use your hemming gum to turn the neck, so it will be very neat when you iron it. So I'll just go ahead to use my hemming gum to turn the neck area. I'll do the same thing for my back. For the back, this is the neck, the straight part is the neck. So you just go ahead to use your hemming gum to just turn the neck part of your back like so. So this was what I had after I was done turning it. I went ahead to top stitch on it and also to sew at the zipper part. I did the same thing to the front part. I went ahead to top stitch on it. So I'll go ahead to just iron it. So after ironing, this is what I had. It was looking so neat already and so relaxed because our hemming gum helped it to just be relaxed. So the next thing I'm going to do is to join my shoulder to my shoulder. So just connect the shoulder to the shoulder and turn it in. Use one side of the facing to turn it in so it will look neat inside. I'll just go ahead to turn it in. You can use your pin to just secure it down first before turning it if it's hard for you, because the way the shoulder is in a curved form, it will actually be somehow hard for you to hold it and turn it. So this was what I had after turning it. See how neat it is. We'll go ahead to join the up part of the front to the down part of the front. So I just went ahead to notch the center of the up part and then making sure it aligns with the center of the down part, I went ahead to just join it with half an inch. Before then, you have to confirm your half length, that it is not going to be too long when you join it. For the back side, I'll go ahead to reduce it again at the back with half an inch. This is also to still avoid zipper bulges. So from the center of the back, I'm going to go up by half an inch, and then I'll connect it to where my side allowance starts from. Then I went ahead to cut it, and then I went ahead to attach the up part to the down part, starting from the zipper allowance part. After joining it, this was what we had. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to join my zipper allowance part down where I want my zipper to start from. So I'm going to be using an invisible zip because I don't want this video to be too long. I'm going to show you how I fix this invisible zip in my next video in response to the request made by one of my subscribers. I'll just go ahead to close it, and this was what I have after I was done closing it. Don't forget to add your slit at the down part. So I'll just go ahead to fix my invisible zipper, and I'll show you guys what I have. So this was what I had after fixing our zipper. It looks all nice, and I'll just go ahead to iron it, and then it's time to close our gown and then fix our sleeves, and our gown would be ready in a short while. So I went ahead to mark my seam allowance part. I confirmed my measurement, then I'll go ahead to close it and show you guys what I had. For our sleeves, I'll go ahead to close the side of our sleeves. For the down part, I'm going to use my facing to turn the down part. So I'll use my hemming gum to just turn all through. I'm going to turn the down part first, then I'll turn the sides, and then after that I'll bring it out to the right side. So this is our gown when I was done closing it, and this is the down part of the sleeves when I was done joining it. So I'll just go ahead to remove it, bring it out to the right size, and then I'll go ahead to my iron to iron it well. For the upper part of the sleeves, I went ahead to turn it to the right sides. I'll also go ahead to iron it before attaching to the down part. So at this point I was done ironing it. This is the down part of our sleeves, and I was done top stitching on it. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do will just be to attach it. See the way I'm attaching it, make sure the joining part is at the opening part of the down part. So just make sure that it touches each other at the ending, so that the joining will not show, so that it will not make your work to look rough. After attaching the down part of the sleeve, this was what I had. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach my sleeves to my armhole. So guys, we are almost done with making this gown. If you are here for the first time, or you're just seeing my channel and you've not subscribed, please do well to subscribe, and also click on the like button, and also comment if this video was of benefit to you. So this was what I had after I was done attaching the sleeves. We are almost done. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just go ahead and weave it. After weaving it, I'm going to use my hemming gum to finish up. So I'm going to take it to where I normally weave. After weaving, then I'll use my hemming gum to hem the down part as well as the slit area. So I'll do that, and I'll show you guys what I have. This is my dress after weaving it. I was trying to show you guys how I put my hemming gum, but I was the one holding my phone camera, so it wasn't that easy to do it. So what I did was I actually doubled my hemming gum. So try to double your hemming gum whenever you want to just use it to hem the down part of your dress. So make sure that you double it so that it will give it more stability, because if you put just one, it will likely come off in no time. So this was what I had after I was done putting my hemming gum, and I was done ironing it very well. So guys, this is me just showing you how I had to weave even the princess dart area to look very nice. So this is the ending of my video. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. This is it when I wore it on the mannequin. Like I said earlier, the gown is not mine, and this was when my client was trying it on. See how neat and fine our gown is fitting. So guys, if this video was helpful to you, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you've not subscribed, and also turn on the notification bell so that whenever I drop another video you'll be notified. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.